From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. And now we begin with the news because independent and leftist parties of Chile win this weekend's mega elections with all votes counted, according to the Electoral Service of the country. Likewise, President Sebastián Piñera accepted his loss. The independent candidates and against neoliberalism led the results of these elections and got 48 seats in the Constitutional Convention, followed by the opposition formulas that count in total 52 seats, divided into two blocks. The coalition approved Center Left with 27 seats and the coalition approved Dignity Left with 25 seats, while the government's coalition is going through Chile will have reached 38 seats. Meanwhile, 17 seats were reserved for the indigenous peoples, where independent coalitions also proliferated. The mayor of the municipality of Recoleta de Santiago and presidential candidate for the Communist Party of Chile, Daniel Hadwe, highlighted the support of the population in the process of democratic transformation of the country. Statements made after the first ballot of these mega elections were published.
I would also like to say that the result begins to show that the sectors have seen the transformation of this country, the retransformation, have obtained a tremendous triumph, and this consolidates the need not only for an absolutely democratic constitution made from the grassroots, but also the need to have a popular and democratic government in the near future that leads all the changes with the confidence and with the unrestricted unity with the people of Chile. I would also like to say that the result begins to show that the sector.
And also, Hadwe emphasized that with these historical facts, the Piñera government must start thinking about the needs of the people of Chile. So, following this weekend's election, President Sebastián Piñera said the outcome showed that his government and political parties were not attuned to the demands and aspirations of citizens. We go to a short break now, follow again after this.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Get your body. Tuesdays, only on teleSUR.
We share your feelings, exalt your accomplishments, and show your reality. Our approach is global and keeps us in tune with the peoples. Caribbean countries also get our signal. With enthusiasm, we will continue to broadcast for them. Because we are teleSUR, the news broadcaster from South America and the Caribbean.
Una travesía para descubrirnos. Buscamos conexiones perdidas.
No nos queda otra que luchar, porque no tenemos nada que perder.
Realmente es por todos.
Recorremos el mundo con Reportajes teleSUR.
Saturdays, only on teleSUR. Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali analyzes the international media influence driven by the empire, acts as an analysis of political, economic, and social life throughout Latin America through our stream and website in English. A critical space committed to truth to determine the conjuncture that moved the world today. The world today. Mondays on teleSUR.
En un mundo en constante movimiento, todos los días se generan nuevos sucesos y es necesario conocerlos. Nos preguntamos, ¿qué hay detrás de cada acontecimiento? ¿Cuáles son las consecuencias y cómo nos afectan? Ante estas preguntas, buscaremos poner el punto en la I.
Dot in the I. Saturday, only on teleSUR. Innovation, science, the technological breakthrough and its influence in society.
Viajeros del saber, el futuro está aquí.
Atomy. Monday, only on teleSUR. Who's moving the chessmen? What interests and motivate the actors behind each event? The board is deployed there. Critical Move investigates every event from Monday to Friday. Only on teleSUR. The life is full of moments. Moments of fight. Moments of hope. Moments that transcend. Moments that you can live in. teleSUR documentaries. Sundays. Only on teleSUR. It is our duty to reverse the damage we cause to the planet. Let's recover our natural ecosystems with actions in defense of the environment. Let's keep fighting for a greener world. Wednesdays, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. A high court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has sentenced 30 people to death for their role in anti-police violence, marking the end of Ramadan in the capital, Kinshasa. A policeman was killed on Thursday as rival Muslim groups fought over the right to celebrate the Eid festivities, marking the end of Ramadan at a major sports stadium. The government has also confirmed that one policewoman was in critical condition and 46 others were injured, with 8 in a serious state. Dr. Congo has not carried out death penalties since the moratorium was introduced in 2003. Since then, death sentences have been changed to life imprisonment. The head of Ethiopia's election board has said it will be impossible to hold parliamentary elections as planned on June 5th due to logistical issues, such as training electoral staff, printing and distributing ballot papers. However, she didn't give a new date. The elections had already been delayed from last August due to the coronavirus pandemic, and problems have only mounted since, with a conflict in the northern Tigray region and brutal ethnic violence in several areas.
According to the board assessment, we have understood that the election needs extra time, at least 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We haven't decided yet on the final date. However, we have understood that it would be impossible to hold the planned June 5th election and complete the voting process and counting on the scheduled date.
In India, tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes as a severe cyclone heads towards the northwest state of Gujarat. According to press reports, the powerful cyclone Tauktae is the biggest to hit western India in 30 years. Heavy rains, intense winds and destructive storms had already affected some states along the country's western coast, causing blackouts, downing trees and resulting in at least 6 deaths. The Indian Meteorological Department reported that the storm, which originated in the Arabian Sea, has winds of 155 to 165 kilometers per hour. Due to the severity of the cyclone, authorities in Mumbai closed the airport for several hours and urged the people to stay indoors as they transfer COVID patients from 3 field hospitals to safer locations. And according to climate expert Roxy Matthew Cole from the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, rapid ocean warming is behind the increasing storms forming in the Arabian Sea off the coast of western India. An example of this is Cyclone Tauktae.
One of the reasons that we are seeing more storms and cyclones in the tropical regions, especially regions like Arabian Sea and all, is because of ocean warming, rapid ocean warming. Storms and cyclones draw their energy from warm ocean waters. And now what is happening? The Arabian Sea temperatures, the ocean surface temperatures are warming rapidly. And that has resulted in this sudden spurt of storms and cyclones forming over the Arabian Sea in the recent decades.
This Monday in Japan, a new poll showed that more than 80% of Japanese oppose hosting the Olympics this year. The latest survey, carried out less than 10 weeks before the Tokyo Games, came after Japan extended a coronavirus state of emergency as the nation faces a 4th wave of infections. The surge in cases has put pressure on the country's healthcare system, with medical professionals repeatedly warning about shortages and exhaustion. The opinion poll found 43% of the population want the 2020 Games cancelled and 40% want a further postponement. Only 14% support holding the Olympics this summer as scheduled.
I believe we must not hold the Olympics just for the convenience of the IOC and the Tokyo government. There is no reason, none, for us to have to hold the games now when infection is spreading through the country, when we are under the state of emergency and when athletes are suffering in many ways. If authorities put priority on the economy, I want them to lift the restrictions on restaurants and bars. If they prioritize the antivirus measures, I want them to cancel the Olympics. I am here to protest against the games because their policies are so contradictory.
More than 100 migrants who were housed in the Italian island Lampedusa have been transferred to a refugee camp on Sicily. Around 200 other migrants remained at the Lampedusa Migration Center awaiting for the transfer to Sicily. According to Italian media, more than 2,200 asylum seekers arrived on Lampedusa last weekend, mainly from Tunisia, Libya and Bangladesh. It was the largest number of asylum seekers coming ashore in a single day at an Italian port this year. Now, most of them have been transferred to Sicily. More news in a minute. Join us again after this.
We share your feelings, exalt your accomplishments, and show your reality. Our approach is global and keeps us in tune with the peoples. Caribbean countries also get our signal. With enthusiasm, we will continue to broadcast for them. Because we are teleSUR, the news broadcaster from South America and the Caribbean. Pakistani journalist Tariq Ali analyzes the international media influence driven by the empire, acts as an analysis of political, economic, and social life throughout Latin America through our stream and website in English, a critical space committed to truth to determine the conjuncture that moved the world today. The world today. Mondays on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. Jordan's Deputy Prime Minister on Sunday called on Israel to stop the aggression on Gaza as international efforts to broker a ceasefire continue. This plea was made on the same day Palestinian medics said Israeli airstrikes on Gaza City flattened 3 buildings and killed at least 42 people in the deadliest single attack in the latest round of violence.
Israel, as occupying power, is responsible for the dangerous situation in the Palestinian occupied lands and all that is caused from violence, killing, destruction, and suffering. Escalation must stop, and stop the aggression of Gaza, and stop all illegitimate Israeli practice that basically targeted this escalation in occupied Jerusalem and the rest of the Palestinian lands. You must act immediately to achieve this and to provide protection for the Palestinian people.
In the context of the violent events in Palestine, citizens of countries such as Poland, Italy, and Canada have expressed their solidarity and support for the Palestinian cause. Large crowds protested today in Warsaw, Milan, and Toronto in solidarity with the Palestinians and in protest against Israeli aggression in Gaza and Jerusalem. In Warsaw, the citizens also condemned the annexationist plans carried out by Israel in the Palestinian territories of the West Bank, Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. For its part, the Palestinian ambassador to Poland, Mahmoud Khalifa, said these demonstrations are yet another sign of the international community's support for the Palestinian people. An Israeli airstrike in Gaza overnight killed more than 2,000 people, the single deadliest attack on the current hostilities. On Sunday morning, rescue workers combed through the rubble of 3 buildings destroyed in the Israeli airstrike as the hostilities between Israelis and Palestinians escalated to levels not seen since the 2014 war. With the conflict stretching into a 7th straight day, the United States stepped up its diplomatic engagement and the United Nations Security Council met to discuss the conflict in public for the first time. Secretary General Antonio Guterres was the first of nearly 2,000 speakers of the agenda of the meeting, led by the delegation from China.
Norway, Tunisia and China expressed deep concern about the situation in Gaza and the rising number of civilian casualties, and called for an immediate end of hostility, full respect for international law, including international humanitarian law, and the protection of civilians, especially children. We demanded immediate cessation of all acts of violence, provocation, incitement, destruction, and eviction plans.
The most urgent and pressing task at this moment is to cease fire and stop violence. What's equally important is to is to advance a just settlement of the Palestinian question on the basis of two-state solution.
These are flagrant violations of international humanitarian law, and they must be stopped now. Tunisia believes that hostilities must stop and cross-border to the besieged occupied Palestinian territory must be reopened to allow much-needed humanitarian and medical assistance to an extremely vulnerable population which was before the escalation already under dire humanitarian situation because of the blockade and other oppressive.
The international community has a crucial role to play. It must take action now to enable the parties to step back from the brink. I welcome the statements from members of the Security Council, the Arab League and others aimed at finding a diplomatic solution to the immediate crisis. I also appreciate the efforts of leaders across the international community over the past days, urging all parties to exercise restraints, de-escalate tension and prevent further civilian casualties. Mr. President, we are once again witnessing the tragic results of the failure to address the core issues that have driven the conflict for decades. Palestinian and Israeli civilians continue to endure the suffering that accompanies repeated cycles of violence and conflict. These cycles of violence will only stop with a political resolution to the conflict, including addressing the status of Jerusalem and other final status issues, with an end to the occupation and the realization of a two-state solution on the basis of the 1967 lines, UN resolutions, international law, and mutual agreements with Israel as capital of both Israel and Palestine.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.